Okay, I'm going to talk about something. It's something that I've thought about from time to time, and I think I've discussed, but it's something I really want to talk about, and it has to do with the concept of people thinking how what we see as traditions, what we see as the world now and the way things are, is always being that way, or at least being analogous to that. Obviously, there's some things that we do now that 300 years ago they couldn't do to technology. But the family dynamic, children, the way children are treated, the age that certain things happen, all these things we tend to see as being always there. Just because it's become a tradition as long as we've been alive. And over Christmas, this sort of got brought up a few times, and I got thinking about this due to, the whole thing about Christmas. That, you know, that Santa Claus is a white dude and whatnot. Yeah, so I won't go too much into that, but I found some things that are interesting. That a lot of what we consider traditions, you know, the traditional Christmas Day thing, the things that a lot of people do nowadays and consider traditional. Like, if you don't do these things, you're not a true American kind of an idea. But looking back, a lot of these things aren't very old. Like, a lot of the ideas come from A Christmas Carol and things like that. But these things weren't even common at the time of Christmas Carol, let alone the time that the story was supposedly taking place. A lot of these things came about because of A Christmas Carol and so on. Christmas wasn't as big a day for a lot of people, and certain things that we do now would have been banned back then. And it's just interesting how we tend to project a lot of the past from our fiction and whatnot, or what we can been told is tradition. What does this have to do with religion? Well, we see this now with the internet and whatnot, and with people that are living back, 60, 70, 100 years ago. We can talk to them, what Christmas is like when they were growing up. Was Santa Claus the big deal? Coca-Cola started the modern tradition of Santa Claus. But people still have these perceptions of this being, how Santa Claus or certain things always was. Well, 2,000 years ago, or 3,000 years ago if we're talking about the Jews, how could we, you know, look back and seen and verified certain things? How quickly could the concept of the Jews coming from Canaanite have developed? That they were in Egypt. How quickly could that have developed? Even though it didn't actually happen, if people just sort of got this idea of it. Certain stories that happened only 20, 40, 50, 60 years ago have already gone into this idea of always being that way. Given 100, 200 years, could they verify that? Jesus, the story of Jesus. If pretty quickly, if you're a new person to a church and there's this tradition, and as far as you know that's always been a tradition, would you question it? And all these sort of things. How quickly does people's perception of what always was come from this is something that just started? So I want to hear you guys' thoughts on this. I mean, it's one of the things that I always find really hard to sort of swallow when it comes to religion and the Bible is this idea that these things came about too quickly. Yet we see massive examples of this within modern times of, maybe not to the extent of Christianity, but just ideas and concepts, even with our modern day technology to verify or to disprove certain ideas. How people just take with a grain of salt or faith that this is the way it's always been. So, let me hear your thoughts. Rate, comment, subscribe. I really want to hear what you guys think on this subject.